lynched.
Okay.
About 18, almost 18 hours of it.
Isn't that
Yes.
yeah.
I'm surprised how they kept it out there, but you know.
Okay.
That's from Dockery, I think. Yeah.
Who is that?
That's Dockery, my second guess.
Mm-hmm.
Reuben Dockery.
Okay.
You might know him, I think.
I think I know him. Yeah.
He's going to talk about some. Thank you and welcome back to the final segment of the show for today. We're talking to Dr. LBaldwin, and he's giving us some information in reference to the contemporary Black Lives Matter movement. And he's also giving us information in reference to the historical aspect of that movement. So, Dr. Baldwin, let's, during this last segment, pick up and give you an opportunity to try to bring in as much information as you possibly can during this last segment to highlight what we're talking about here, dealing with the so-called Black Lives Matter movement, the contemporary version of that movement.
I think we have to consider the question of where that movement goes from here. I think it is an extension of the civil rights movement, because if you look at the civil rights movement, Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X and Ella Baker, John Lewis, they all raised the question of the preservation, the value of black bodies. And I think that the Black Lives Matter movement is building on that, and I think it's going to continue to be a major movement because it has attracted worldwide media. It's a movement that, as I said earlier, is respected around the world. There are 23 chapters, one in Canada, there's one in Ghana. So I think the movement will continue to blossom and evolve because there will be...
the issues are always the same, no matter where you go. It's always a deprivation of young African-American males.
African-American
so
lives.
I guess, wherever.
Yeah,
you know.
Every 48 hours, there's some black male, woman or child murdered by vigilantes, by hate groups, or by policemen. So that movement, I think, will blossom. And I think because of social media, because of the internet, it will become as important, this is my prediction, as the civil rights movement. When you talk about 700 demonstrations that have occurred since 2013 up to this point in connection with the Black Lives Matter movement, you're talking about a major movement. So we need to move away from this idea that the Black Lives Matter movement is a slogan, that it is a rallying cry, to develop a sense of it as a movement. And as long as black lives are in jeopardy because of poverty, because of racism, because of economic injustice, you're going to have a Black Lives Matter movement. It's a historical movement with an unbroken tradition, and I think we have to keep that in mind.
And it's still dealing with the same basic question in reference to the subjects.
Exactly.
In reference to this movement. No matter where you look,
exactly,
as you've already explained in American history, you're going to find out the same problems, the same deprivation, the same lynchings, the same burnings, and all of those things that happen. And so, yes.
Throughout our history. And Malcolm and Martin spoke boldly to this issue of police brutality. So when we hear people like Alicia Garza and Patrice Cullors and Oprah Tometi, who are the leaders of this Black Lives movement, they are simply echoing what Martin and Malcolm and Ella Baker and Rosa Parks and others were saying about the sacredness of black bodies and the need to protect black bodies, not only against police brutality, but against these other problems that you raise, such as poverty and economic injustice.
Yes, because if Black Lives Matter dealing with police brutality, they also matter dealing with the inability of African American males to find jobs, the inability of them to find health. And so it covers the whole thing.
Yes, it spills over into drug addiction, it spills over into teenage pregnancy and other problems that have sort of become prominent in the black community. It's all about the vulnerability of black life. whether you're talking about economic issues or social issues or cultural issues, the question is, how do we preserve the sacredness, the dignity and worth of black life?
And through all this period, Dr. Baldwin, from the very, very beginning, from slavery on up until now, we're still dealing with the same basic subjects.
Exactly.
And no matter whether you find them in slavery, or whether you find them in modern urban America, they're the same young men between what, about 16 and 25 or 30 years old that are receiving the attention of this movement in a real sense. And so
it's a problem that is epidemic in our society, and if we don't deal with it, we're going to suffer tragic consequences, and we're already suffering tragic consequences.
And I just want to let you know, Dr. Baldwin, you're doing a great work in terms of making us realize the importance of this movement, because I've seen it on television and I've seen people with signs saying Black Lives Matter. And even though I've been involved in this activity for the longest, you know, I've never thought